Hey everybody, so it's been a couple days since I've done another recording on my game's development progress. I've been struggling the last few days to recode my render code as I was hitting a point where I was like, this render code is not exactly what it should be. And I kept seeing people using batch render, so I attempted to implement a batch render off of quite a few different examples. This is the class. It doesn't work. The very fact of loading the shader completely screws my program up. Not even like doing anything with the shader, not doing anything else that stuff. For those who don't know what the shaders are, they're not things that change the screen render and stuff. They're the programs that run on your graphics card to actually render things onto your screen. Really, reality of them are they're software, stuff that you install and run and stuff like that. But I struggled to make one, followed a few different examples, got something that kind of looked like it should have worked, and it just didn't. So now I'm back to recycling my old renders, and my old renders are just kind of crap. But uh, after reading forum after forum, I came to the conclusion, and quite a few people on those forums also said this: when you're working with 2D games, just don't worry about the render stuff too much. Get something that functions, even if it's horribly performant. Get your game functional, then you can come back later and fix the render code, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back later. That's the reason why here in the item render code, I'm going to store my textures. I do have a texture object now, which is designed to keep track of the texture we're rendering, the width and height of that texture, and its UV position, so that way we can actually start using sprite sheets. The font render already uses a sprite sheet from those who've seen that video. That's literally what it is. I'll be transitioning the font render eventually over to the texture system, and I want to make an object that replaces render rec that just keeps track of all of our render data. It'll keep track of what our mesh should be size-wise, and then what our texture should be. That way, when we actually do fix our batch render, we just pass in render rect, and the render rect just goes, okay, here's what we should look like, and then it does all the calculations for us. At least why we haven't figured out getting the batch render working, we can at least pre-implement code so that way when we get it working, we just switch over. Um, since last time, I also did start implementing dispose code. This is something I was neglecting to do from lack of experience. That when we close the program, we weren't junking everything. All this stuff right here is stored inside of our graphics card. If I didn't junk it, this builds up. I think the graphics card does know how to eventually get rid of it, but it was sitting there. Now it's all gone, so when you close the program, it deletes everything, which is cool. That saves a bit of trouble. I'm going to try to look at an automated way to do this because we're calling dispose on everything, and what I need to do is just come up with some central way we store all of our stuff that's loaded. That way when the program finally closes, we just junk it all. But what we're going to work on today is I want to work on item rendering, because if I load the game up, this is another thing I worked on after my last video, is I started working on actually rendering characters properly. What you were seeing before when I was rendering characters is I was rendering a solid sprite, and that didn't have any movement to it. Didn't have any transition points or anything. These sprites now have bodies, clothing, heads, and hair. So we're going to work on getting the item stuff programmed up. That way we can start equipping these guys, so we can go, okay, this guy's wearing Kevlar, this guy has a shotgun, stuff like that, and that stuff will start to render. It'll also render down here, so when I select this stuff, I don't know if I showed this in the last video, but I started working on getting the GUIs to transition to match things. So it now shows only the abilities you have, so we don't have that huge thing in the middle, and it shrinks down to these 1x1s on the side because we have no equipment. I thought about de-rendering these, but I want to get something to render behind them so we know what we're looking at. So if we click all the guys, yeah, we don't have anything. And then when you de-click, it gets rid of the thing in the middle. We'll work on that as we go. Right now, the main thing is I want to get some items up so I can start equipping the characters, and once we get equipping thing, then we can start rendering them properly and stuff like that. So we got our render objects, we got our icons. How this is going to work is we need some kind of data to load. I don't know if I want to use JSON right now. You know, we're just going to code this all by hand because I don't want to sit here and show you like a really complicated system to do something simple, because that's something that's been frustrating me while going through YouTube trying to look at videos how to do OpenGL. Everybody's showing you the complex way. Nobody wants to show you the simple way. Which I actually went through and found the documentation for OpenGL, was reading through it. I ended up programming something that was highly simplistic for my batch render, then found out it won't work. So I had a Minecraft style tessellator running, which was rendering my UVs and everything. But then for some reason it wouldn't bind textures properly. So it would render and everything would show up, but then my textures wouldn't show up. And then I was like, ah, nothing's working. Yeah, so we're gonna go render rect. So we need item lists. So we don't have anywhere we're storing items. So let's fix that. So we go to our game, we go to items. So if we go to tile, then we get a tile list. So we go to items, we don't have an items list. So we need to make a Java class for items. And then what we want to do is we want to just repeat the same exact code we have in here. So we want an array of items because we're gonna have item IDs. Item IDs are going to be stored separately from tile. Unlike Minecraft, Minecraft stores its items and tiles in the same ID set. I don't know why it does that because the reality of it is your items and tiles are kind of exclusive from each other. They don't need to care what's going on. But ignoring that, we're going to just kind of work on this. So we need a load. The least cool thing is we don't need a dispose method for our items because our items will automatically dispose of themselves. Yeah, we'll just do 32,000 items right now. I doubt people are going to need more than that because really it doesn't matter. So here we go, we got an item list. And then what we want to do is, yeah, we got new tile here. So we're going to just copy these real quick. And we're going to put this here. And we're going to need to start keeping a list of things. So I'm going to make, the first item I'm going to make is going to be equivalent to error. So it's going to be public, static, we'll just call it item, and we'll call it void. That way, when we go to do this real quick, and we say we have some kind of error that corrupts an item, so that way it no longer shows up properly. We want to return some kind of something that we can then go, okay, this isn't supposed to be here, so we can go, hey, he's got a void item. But let's see. So we're going to need to keep track of our item IDs. So private static int next item ID equals 0. And we'll just plus that here. This is a lazy way of doing it. The reality of it is we would actually spend some time programming a much better system. If you've ever seen Minecraft's code, they have a really nice system in the current version to actually keep track properly. Okay, so we got a unique name. Yeah, the thing is, when I originally coded this, I was considering just storing all the items with string values, and I kind of went back on that idea. Public final int ID. So we're gonna transition away from that because when I sat and thought about it, and I actually was thinking about how we're gonna save maps and stuff, saving a ton of strings would cause a lot of space increase. So what I can do is I just come up with some kind of ID to match your string unique character and then save that to your map, and then your map should always load the same. This is exactly what Minecraft kind of does. So we go item, or we go, yeah, items, and then we want to go tile.id. And then, yeah, that's what we kind of want. We want to change this to item so we're not saying it's a tile. Why is this not working? No, that's why it's not working. Kind of mistype there. Items.length, and then we want to go items.that. And we go doesn't equal null. And then we want to go items.tile, if not void. And this would be transition this to ID. And because we forgot to do this in our tile system, I need to do that as well. So if this doesn't equal null, then we want to go tiles, tile and not, and we want to go error. And we want to re-change this to ID real quick, and then get rid of that. And that should clean itself up a little better. And keep consistent with our other object set here. I'm going to rename this to items. Come on, rename. There it goes. Cool. So our first item. So we're going to go void equals new. Oh, okay, apparently new tile, and this is just going to be void. So it'd be a void item, which we'll just use for debug to figure out what's wrong with things, and we need to change this to new item. So new item. Cool, so that's our first item, and now we need to decide what we're gonna kind of do with the rest of our stuff. So we're gonna need a helmet, and we're gonna need a few other things. We actually need to do this real quick, because I need to do, there's a separation between these actually. So we have a weapon object that we can create, which is an actual item, and then we have an armor object, which is also an item. So we need to make sure we're actually keeping track of this stuff. So this is int ID, and the same thing for here. Int ID. And you know what I could do as well, instead of storing these all in one list of items, we could have a separate list for weapons, separate list for armor, but we're just going to keep a global list for items in general because it doesn't matter. So we want to make sure we actually are keeping track of this. So we need a few weapons. We need a little bit of everything actually. So we got a helmet, chest. Technically we have pants, but you will never see that actually rendered. And gloves actually. So what do we? Armor actually does have an array in here. Okay, so we have a suit object, a head, chest, leg, glove, and boots. A suit is actually all of these below it. It's just one combined object that then fits over your entire character. So head, chest, legs, gloves, boots. So head, chest, and we want legs, gloves, and boots. This will all be loaded through JSON data here later. So this is what we're doing here is we're just kind of creating an easy way to handle it. What will end up happening eventually is we'll have a map of string keys, so strings to items up here with the item list. So you'll have your IDs and then you'll have your actual list of items, and you'll access all of your items via string keys unless you're loading from the map. The map will be the only one that'll use IDs directly. So we got head string, and then I'm not even going to bother with this suit because we're not going to screw with it today. Then we want to do a couple weapons. These need to be armor though, so we make sure we're keeping track of this correctly. The only ones that are really going to render are head, chest, and gloves. Legs, maybe if I do walking animation, and same with boots. So if I ever do walking animation, these two will come into play, but it's unlikely because I don't really have an animator to really do things. Let's see, so we also want to make a couple weapons here. So we're going to make 3 weapons. And we're going to just call it handgun, rifle, and we'll just call this launcher. And these, of course, will be weapon objects. I don't know how that got down there. These are going to be going into our actives here, and we want a couple more of these real quick. So we'll make a couple test items. So we're going to make one called medkit, and we're going to make one called maybe not grenade. Yeah, grenade. Even though I don't know how to spell it properly. I think I got it close. So those are all of our items. When we go to make them, it's pretty easy. We just go medkit equals new item. Right, new item, and we want to just call it medkit. And we'll do the same thing for pretty much everything. We are going to have to make textures for these. Unfortunately, I think my texture artist disappeared on me again, which is normal of him most times. It's unfortunate though because I could really use his help with texturing. Now the thing with the armor is a lot different. because when we actually go to make it, it's going to have an item texture. And if I open up my resource folder here, this is what I was also working on. I never did finish it because I got sidetracked. But okay, I don't want icons. I want entities. So here's how our body is actually set up. I'm making a texture sheet system very similar to Minecraft's. You have your parts laid out here. There will be sideways views of it, so this is the top-down view. So most of your game's going to look like this way, but eventually there's going to be a GUI where you can see your character, and I'm going to have to actually make a body model you're going to see. So we're going to have to put that down here somewhere. The armor is going to be the same way, though. You're going to have to make a sheet of armor. And right now, if you notice, I've got the clothing and the hair implemented in the sheet. I had originally made a naked bald guy, and I was like, you know what, this kind of just looks bad. And I went ahead and I put hair on it and everything else. But if we actually open up the body file row here, which is where we're going to do all of our textures in, is GIMP here. Everything's separated out. So we actually have a background, which the background actually does show you where everything goes into the sheet. When I go to provide people with the ability to make more textures, there's going to be this sheet texture, which will say, here's what the area by which the game checks for your texture, so that'll be the UV position, and then here's where things really should kind of be on a character. I'm not going to really define what I want characters to look like, because say if you want to make an alien race that has this big like nose thing coming off, then you could do it in the text area here. Let me zoom in just to make it a little easier. So if we actually do this, this is your UV texture thing, and I've got hair, and of course I made this hole in the neck because I'm like, hey, what if the head gets blown off? I want to put that there. That probably never will get used anytime soon. Right now the hands and arms aren't separated from each other, but I went ahead and did texture them separately so that way I could just pull them in via the UVs easier, but we're not going to do anything with that anytime soon. I probably won't even record that because that'll just be me frustratingly working on things while listening to probably heavy metal. I don't know. We'll think of something. Maybe techno. I can't figure out which I want to listen to more. But okay, that's the textures. So we're going to go here. So this is going to be, we'll just call it head. We're not going to be imaginative today. So this will be head, chest. I'm also going to, one of the things I also wanted to do with batch rendering when I was working on it, the main reason I actually got into it, is I want to do texture stitching, kind of how Minecraft does it, where you stitch all of your textures in the one sheet and then render them, because it is actually more performant. I cursed Minecraft when they forced that upon us, but the reality of it is it does work better. Because then you only have to bind one texture, you don't have to wait for the texture to rebind in the graphics card, and then all you have to do is just call render with UVs. So we're going to do all of our item and block rendering with texture sheets eventually. But I'm going to write code to stitch it together, that way my artist doesn't have to work harder. Or to be honest, I might just ask my artist if he can just go ahead and texture stitch them for me. If he says yes, then I'll go ahead and do it. If he says no, then we'll make a texture stitching program. I need to learn how to make one anyways, because it's probably not going to be too hard. And I kind of want to start using it in other things. Like my Minecraft mods actually probably would perform a lot better if I could start texture stitching, say, or, well, actually I can't think of any examples where I really need to texture stitch things. Because Minecraft does it for you already, but the ideal is I could say, if I wanted to do connected textures, I could do it that way. I can make a stitch texture that we then export or something, and then load in UVs manually and do things and render things and figure it out from there. But we've got all our weapons initialized. Now we just kind of have to make all the files. So all of our files are going to go in here. And how do these actually get loaded? So let's go here real quick. So we got, it's weapon, item.weapon. You know what we might do? Nah, that won't work. We're going to use the names, though, of everything for the textures. So we're in the items folder, so the first thing, if we pull this up, there's no easy way to just make textures, is there? paint real quick. Resize. And then we want to do 32 by 32s is a good starting point for textures. I think that's what my artist wants to use as well. We'll go File, Save As. I'm going to go Icons and then Items. And this will be item dot medkit. So that'll be our first item. And for this, we're literally just going to go. That's a little big right there. That looks pretty good. There's a little handle going here. Yeah, when making your own games and you don't really have a reliable texture team, you kind of have to just make this stuff yourself. Why? Come on, paint. Paint! God damn it. I would do this stuff in GIMP, but it surprisingly is much easier to just use paint for a lot of things. Make the handle a little bit thicker. And then we'll do, probably when I'm bored and I'm not coding, I'll actually come back through here and make these look a lot nicer. Right now I just need something that I could use. And that does not look shit, so when I take a screenshot of it, it doesn't look horrible. Damn it, I made it 3D. So I just made a mistake there. You see why I put the lines here, and now it looks like it's three-dimensional, so I gotta make it three-dimensional. Only problem is every time I've tried to do this with three-dimensional looking textures is I've always screwed them up. It's not one of my strongest points. It's the reason why I actually ask for texture artists to give me a hand most days, is that this is actually hard for me because of the nerve damage in my hands. So yeah, so we're gonna have to just keep at it here real quick, and we'll get something that resembles a medkit. And then if we actually grab this, we can chop the handle slightly. Perspective wise, this is we'll put it back. I need to kind of make the medkit a little deeper, and that would look a lot better. Get it centered out. The cool thing is any texture I have in Minecraft I could recycle for this game, and that actually is probably going to happen since I actually do own all the textures. One cool thing is actually isn't really cool, if it's really smart business-wise that if you go to make anything, try to make sure you own all your assets, because if you do, like, definitively own them, not just like you've been leased them or you've been given rights for just this product, but if you own them completely, you can reuse them anywhere you want to. And almost all of my textures and models are that way. With a few exceptions, like some of the mods, some of the artwork was given to me without any roles or without any direct permission given, which means the artist still owns the artwork. But a lot of the newer ones, especially the ones made by Morton, are given to me without any role set attached to them. I'll need to flatten this picture. Layer, image, merge visible layers, merge. That's a workaround real quick to getting that to fix itself. There is a more appropriate way to fix if you can't delete the white space, because what happened is when I loaded that in, there was no alpha attached to the image, and that's the reason I couldn't load it in. So we got that image. I'm going to leave this open though. We're going to duplicate this real quick. So our other item was a grenade. Make sure I put item grenade real quick. Is that how we spelled it though? So go back to here, because I need to make sure I spell it directly, exactly how it is, because that's how we're going to load everything in. Because I'm not going to do any metadata system. Like Minecraft, you can go, okay, I want to load this texture for this metadata. I'm not implementing that right now. That's not something I'm going to do. It's a lot of work for a very little reward. We'll just open this up real quick. We want to make a grenade, so Control A, delete, green cube. It's not dark enough green. Trying to make this a bit quicker for you guys, so that way we're not sitting here all day watching me texture artist. Although I wouldn't be surprised if a few people actually enjoy this type of stuff. I know there are quite a few people that actually do love to watch people make art. Personally, I have no clue though. Although on unrelated, or actually this is slightly related, I am still looking for more texture artists and stuff. So if anybody actually sees this video and sees me doing this and just was like, hey, I can do a better job, yeah, you probably could, and if you can, I actually always need text artists. I don't need any for the game itself, per se, because I don't want to add any more people to the team at the moment, because right now I'm still not sure if I can pay the people I have on the team. But for like the modding stuff, I'm more than happy to have more people contribute, because that's all community-driven stuff that's given away free of charge. So there's no pay involved. Which probably pisses off the IRS, because I bet they would love to get money. This looks horrible, actually. I'm going to upload this video here later, and my text artist is going to private message you like, man, that texture you made just absolute trash. It'll work, though. Let's add a little bit of a knob there so it gives it some three-dimensional look and feel. And if we add some light side back to this side here, it'll make this look three-dimensional. Some little bit of tricks I've learned from Minecraft. It doesn't look perfect because, I mean, this is meant to be quick and dirty. Now we just need to select it real quick and then center it. And I then can hit open again and then get rid of the white space. Hit file and then save. And then file and export as. Cool. So that all looks good. Probably gonna add a sim link here later. Actually, how do I select? There we go. That looks good. Let's hit save. We've got all the items open in here, so let's get close down a couple of those. I'll leave this open though, because I need to actually edit that here later. It's a good start here real quick, so let's go ahead and write the item code for actually loading stuff. So close others. So what we want to do is we want to go for item, and then we want to go items dot, I guess, items. How does a tile system actually load theirs? Yeah, so items is a public variable in theirs. Generally, you don't want to actually expose a lot of your stuff public-wise, but I'm not too concerned. So I'm going to go file equals new file, and I need to go back here. I need to see how we load. So we go render rect, which then we pass the texture in. It then gets textureloader.get. Textureloader.get calls new texture. New texture just passes in a path. Path then calls load. Load then calls file input stream. So we're going to pass a string in for the name still, but what we're going to do right before we do that, so we're going to do a string path equals game display dot texture path plus we need this part. Replace this with this, replace that with that, and we want item dot unique ID, and then we want .ping. So what we're going to do is we want to go, do you exist, is what we want to check real quick. So we're going to go if file.exists, and then we're going to load it. So we're going to go, we can't do anything with the icons right now because there's nothing really to do with them because we don't have an icon sheet. So I'm actually going to comment this out just to forget about that code is there. But we're going to go renders dot put, and then we want to go, my fingers will work today, new render rect, and then we want to go path, and then I believe our size is a 1 by 1. It does want a shader with height and layer, so with height 0 is going to be our layer because we're going to render items on all layers, so we're actually going to have to keep track of what we're doing. This would be shader.char. And I'm actually going to rename my shader real quick because this used to be just a character shader. This is literally just our global shader, so we're going to call it global shader because we use it for everything now. I created it originally because I was using this Flappy Bird demo game as the example to build this game. It had, I think, 4 shaders. It had a background shader, a character shader, a pipe shader to render the pipes the bird hits. The character shader rendered the bird, background rendered the background, and then they had a dimming screen shader, so one that changed the overall screen view system, which I might implement here later because it's actually kind of cool. But yeah, we're going to just keep this. We're going to go that, and if we go else, and then we want to go system.error.println. We want to go missing texture, and then we just want to go path. And we'll make this more complicated later. Like if you've ever seen the newer versions of Minecraft, they actually will, at the very last, right before the game loads, they'll go, okay, all these domains are missing textures, and they'll tell you the domain and the textures. We'll implement a system identical to that because we're going to have resource packs, we're going to have mods and stuff. We want to tell those mods that, hey, they're missing things. And for some reason, this isn't saved. I'm going to save that real quick. So we're going to load textures, and then we're going to be able to render these. So I'm going to go actually put layer on all these, because layer is going to be required to render everything. And actually, we don't need this if we're going to have this one down here. This one requires layer. I'm going to change this from Z to layer because I started transitioning this to make it less confusing. Because we only care about our X and Y as the position data. Layer never changes pretty much. It's almost always the same. So we're going to want to render stuff in inventories and things. Actually, we'll go ahead and hit, I'm getting off track. I gotta load these textures first before we can even use them. And then I gotta tell them to dispose as well. So we want to go item render.dispose. That's one of the things we want to do. And then somewhere up here is where we load textures. Okay, item render.load. And I gotta come with a more efficient system of this, because we've got multiple different areas where we're actually keeping track of textures, and we just need one global place we keep track of textures and renders and meshes and everything. But I've already mentioned that already. I do need to dispose of my stuff, so let's go borrow dispose code from the tile, and we're going to get rid of our stuff at the end. So that way we're not wasting memory on my graphics card, because the thing's already cooking my feed as it is. There we go. So that'll dispose of our renders. And that's all we need to do to get them to load up. Now, when we go to render them, we're going to have to do a few things. So if we hit run real quick, we'll be able to see if which ones are missing. Oh. Apparently we have a third type of item. We have gear. This is where night vision and stuff's going to go into. So we'll have handheld gear, which will be anything you have to hold to activate. This will be like walkie-talkies, anything like that. Then you have your helmet, which is your night vision scopes, arms, flamethrowers, and then backpack is like radios and stuff. So we're going to hit run and hit that load up real quick, just to make sure that it's loading. And oh man, I have debug code that actually runs. I have to come back and I have to hit all this up here later. Okay, build, make project. Okay, cool. We should be able to run this time. Let's hit close others real quick because we don't want any other thing. Oh, null point exception in graphics. Ah, we haven't loaded our items yet. So we need to go down to game. And we need to go items.load. Null point exception. Oh, if item equals null, we want to break real quick. Because if we hit a null item, it means we're at the end of the list. We don't want to keep iterating. All honesty, I might switch my item from an array to a list-based system, just to keep this simple. But yeah, we're loaded now. And as you notice right down here, it said we're missing all these items. But it didn't say we're missing our medkit. It didn't say we're missing our grenade. So those two exist. Now I need to come up with a way real quick to track our items in our inventory. And a few other things. So we want to go to game. Game is where we're adding our characters. There is a real easy way to do this. We'll do it this way. For entity get world.get entities. If entity is instance of character, then we want to go entity actionable items add, and we would go items medkit, and we would then go items.grenade. This will make sure that these actually show up in our actionable list, so we have items in our inventory. But they're not actually in our inventory, they're just on our action list. Because how this is supposed to work, and I don't want to spend here too much time like screwing around with code to just show that we can actionable things, because what would happen is every time we add an item to our inventory, our actionable list will update and our weapon list will update, just to make sure that we aren't missing any items off our list. But I don't want to toy with the inventory because you can't see the inventory, you can't mess with the inventory. I'm not 100% sure the inventory actually does work. It's not initialized, etc., etc. There's a lot of work that has to be done to get the inventory to work on, and I don't want to work with that right now. We're just trying to make sure our basic functionality of the game works. So we're going to put a medkit on there, we're going to put a grenade on there. And then we need to make sure that these render. So there is actual stuff for this to render. So there's components, buttons, actions, and it'll be right here. This does have a render method in the logic loop, so we're going to have to go copy the render method. And what we want to do is just go, okay, if that item isn't null, we want to render it. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to call render here. So go item equals we want this whole code piece right here. So this is our item right here. Item equals. So that's how we get our item. And then we want to call item render dot render item, and then we want x, and then we want y, then we want z. Then they want scale as well. Our scale is going to be 1 because we're rendering on top of a button. I may have to do our layer change here, so GUI or game display dot game GUI layer, and we want to go plus 0.5. So we want to be slightly above our game GUI layer to get the buttons to render properly. And if we hit run main, this should work. Won't probably be precisely on top of where it needs to be, but We broke something. Okay. So we null pointed here because our selected entity is null. So. I need to make some code, so give me like 2 seconds. So public boolean has selected entity, so when we return doesn't equal null. We don't need to cast it though, so we just need to go button select entity doesn't equal null. Public character get selected entity as character. And this is just, we're making helper code because almost all of our GUI components are related to characters, so we just need to make sure we're casting things. And I'm trying to clean up the code a little bit here, so it's not as difficult to read. Did it import the wrong character? No, it didn't. It's not importing it at all. This is the problem with calling my character the same as Java lang. We need to rename our character. I don't want to name it living because I feel like every time I get closer to calling things to Minecraft, the more I feel like I'm going to get accused of actually copying Minecraft. Especially with the fact I've been programming mods for the game for 7 years, that it's really easy for somebody to go, oh, well, all of your logic's based on Minecraft. It's like, no, it's not. But I gotta do this. Yeah, whatever. So we're gonna call it entity living now because I need to distinguish between it in the base character that's part of Java lang, because it's Java lang is gonna import by default no matter what I do. Cool. So we can literally go has character pretty much, and then put this around everything. This will guarantee that we don't null point. And then we want to go entity living equals get entity as character, which we need to rename this. Get selected entity as living. By the way, the as living thing is from me actually programming in C a little too much lately. So if you go C sharp actually, if you want to convert things instead of casting where we put things like this, it's .as. Scale is the same way. So we want to go. Yeah, we just do that. That cuts a lot of our code down. Makes it a little bit easier to read. Because we know if we call has entity and we know if we call get selected as living, we want to actually make a sub method this real quick, just to make my life even easier. Has entity selected living, and then we want to go has selected entity and get selected as instance of character, because this will make it go even better. So I won't have a cast exception either. And we use this. Building helper methods like this does save you a lot of time. It's the reason why if people ever go look at a lot of my mods, there are a legitimate ton of helper methods. Because they literally do make my life easier. We just need to get rid of that. And put that there. And reformat. Actually, no, we don't want to reformat because we're missing a bracket here. And we're missing a bracket there. We'll do that. Nope, that's still acting up because we're missing a bracket up here. There we go. So we want to get the item, and we want to get the width here of the item. We want to get the height of the item. Right here, we just want to get the item. And should fix things. Nope, no point exception. The display is null, which should never happen. Okay, so how display works is we call get GUI and we get the display on the GUI. The GUI should have a display. We're going to intentionally crash it again. So we're going to go hit run and we're going to hit, yeah, just hit run real quick. Oh no, I don't hit run, I want to hit debug. So debug instead. Okay, let's see. If we click temp, the reason I'm doing this, I want to see what the data structure looks like. The button is just null straight out. I don't even know how that happened. Probably when I reverted some code, I accidentally clipped some things I shouldn't have. Yeah, how the button? I guess I just go to the button class and just make sure it's not null. So when you go to set it, yeah, when you go to set the logic, it should set it as there. So just go button doesn't equal null. Maybe it's trying to render before the button actually said anything. This will prevent it from crashing again if we just put a whole bunch like this, but unfortunately it won't fix the issue. It just will superficially hide it real quick. Where are we going to look at for this problem? So, call GUI game. When we go to resize, okay, here's our item rows and stuff. Ah, here's our problem. So I'm going to go set logic. So rather than deleting all of our buttons, because this is how I kind of do everything, is we reset our button logic. If we don't have button logic, we don't have a button, so the button disappears off the screen. So we're not actually deleting buttons. We're just simply saying, okay, your button logic's no longer there. Oh no, we actually do delete the button. So we call set button, and we reset our weapon size. Okay, cool. That should fix it though. Cool. So it knows we have two buttons here. Now we just need to figure out where they're rendering at. Resize. Okay, resizing doesn't make them show up. So, when we call button.render, well, actually button.render should work because we're rendering the M key right there. And that's a different button logic script. So when I did the action thing real quick, is it renders right there. Could do what I'm doing over here and just move it up by one. It might actually go high, I can't see it. So render. Here we go. We're going to debug this real quick. So if we flip it in debug mode, I can update the code while we work. So we're going to put it here, put a game here. Completely screws up our render system though. Okay, so that didn't seem to change anything. So let's try -1 again. Okay, let's try rendering it at 0, 0. We're not rendering at all now. Okay. Game object, index, calling render again. Cool, so that's all set up correctly. Let's actually full screen this so I can see what we're calling. Ah, because the Z, see the Z level right here? Z level got set too high for some reason. So we're going to close that, and I know how to fix it. Okay, so Control Z on here. Get rid of this stuff. We're just going to literally call Z, because Z's passing in, I believe, the GUI layer already, because I think I pre-programmed the GUI layer to understand that whatever it's going to be rendering is going to need to be rendered above it. Okay, still not working correctly, so run debug. -7, Z is 0. What? So how did we end up with this Z? Whatever. So game display dot GUI new GUI layer. Just set to 0.7. Okay, we're button logic here. So reload real quick. Because if renders at 0, it's going to render behind the tiles. Okay, still not rendering anywhere where I can see it. Okay, so close others. Just gonna have to debug this line again, so run debug. So if we click Joe, we go in the next line, our layer is 0.7, so all looks good. Negative 0.7, negative 5.62, we're rendering off the edge of the screen. So I want to be -1 here. Aha, cool, see that? They're rendering on screen. We're just off a little bit off the size, so 0.5. I'm gonna have to figure out what's up with that, but we'll get it fixed here in a second. What? So 1 got it all the way up to there. Why did half? Oh, I hit Control Z a couple times. Yeah, +1 worked. But then you went 0.5F, and all suddenly, oh yeah, we're not clicking anybody. Okay. 2.5, and we need to go up a bit on the layer here. 0.1F. That's right, we're in run mode. Debug. Hear my graphics card cooking. Until I get down to where I've got this perfect, I'm gonna have to restart my computer often. You know what? I don't think I need to up this at all. I think what was happening is it was perfectly dead on, and yeah, there we go, perfectly dead on. So I can select these, and if I click these, it'll tell me what I've actually clicked and stuff. That's pretty cool. So that's done. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, and I will make more of these videos here later. I want to do weapons next is the next thing I want to do, and then armor rendering.